Welcome to our presentation. Today we'll be taking a look at structures, girts, and sag rods, as well as a few other tools from the PowerPack for advanced steel. My name is Douglas Morton. I'm an advanced steel application specialist with GRAITEC, and I will be going through these tools with you today. So we're going to focus on structures and sag rods from the PowerPack. To begin with, let's create a model. We're going to do something a little bit different here. We're going to start off with a completely blank drawing. And I'm going to go to the PowerPack. And we're going to build our model using just the PowerPack tools. The first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to place in some elements. So I have the option if I wanted to. I could do beam continuous, beam repeated, beam length, and if I had a beam already. But I can place some in like that. I can do castellated beams from here. If I needed some plates, I get folded plates. I could create some folded plates. But what we're going to focus on today is I'm going to build my structure using the Structures Vault tools. So left click on that, you'll see this palette comes up. In the Structures Vault, we have different areas. So you can see the default structure here. Gives you an example of what that would look like. Straight line elements with some purlins, 3 different frames. We have in here tapered beam structures. We got mezzanine, curved roof portal. So if you needed something with a curved roof, it does that as well. If you want to have single level structures, 1 bay, 2 bay, or multi-bay structures, it's capable of that. And these are the default ones that were created. You have in here also 1 bay multi-level, 2 bay multi-level, and multi-bays multi-levels. So you can see you can get some pretty complicated structures going on here as we go along. It also has the ability to do towers. So the tower here will place in all the elements for the tower to get you started, and then you have to go back, just connect it up and adjust as needed. But what you see on the screen is capable directly from this Tower Designer tool. Now we're going to come in here today. I'll just start with the default structure. Where you have your UCS matters. So it's going to come in at the X, Y, and Z point, wherever you've placed that UCS in the corner. And what is the front and what is the side will be determined by the orientation of that UCS. I'm going to close the palette. If I move the dialog to the side a bit, you can see in here, once this comes in, you can go through and make changes to it as needed, starting with the default profiles. So this one here is using DIN, but we can always change that, and you can see you have access to all of your AISC or CISC or whatever it is that you're looking for. Right? All the shapes are in here. And you can change it for, you got here transversal beams, columns, claddings, door headers, posts, gable posts, intermediate beams, platforms, purlins, rafters, roof bracing, side rails, windows, and so on and so forth. So basically you're going to set up everything that you need right from here for the elements that go into this model. Once you've done that, then you can go through and define it. What's it going to look like? What are we going to have, right? So what are the amount of levels that are available, the number of bays that you want to use, and the number of rows. So you can see it's like 2 bays and 5 rows and different levels. So you can set that up as needed and go through and change it. Right now it's all set to basically 1, but we have 3 rows. The bay definition, if you want equal spacing, okay, you can come and do that, or you can uncheck it and you can define it yourself. So each one is controlled by you. What is the spacing in between the first 1 second, 1 to 2, and then 2 to 3. Your portal frames, you can set those up if you want a portal frame. What are the size? What's the width? What's the portal height? How is it created? 2 beams, 1 beam? Is it curved beam? The frame itself, each one, You can come into here and you can change frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, set them up. Transversal beams in here. What are the shapes in that being used? And how is it positioned? So you have control over the positioning of these elements as well. Your gable posts, your purlins, all of these can be set up in here, left side, right side, enabled or disabled, so you don't have to use them if you don't want. You have advanced settings in e-purlins as well. Side rails between different portals, and how is it placed in. Side bracing, so if you do bracing along the side between the different portals, you have enabled or disabled here. Same with your roof bracing. The platforms, if you want one on the side, for example, it's disabled. You'll notice that when you enable something, settings come in for it that allow you to define it and set it up the way that you want. You have openings for doors and windows inside the structure itself, so you can set those window frames, personal door frames, gate frames, so on and so forth, on the front, the back, the left side, the right side. Place them in, and again, once enabled, you get the properties here that allow you to control the location and position, what gets used. Intermediate beams, if you need to place intermediate beams in, front, left, or right, you can do it in any of the portals here. Place those in. Claddings, if you want to enable those, you can turn those on. And you can see, depending on what you've selected, you got roof, front, back, left, right. You can enable it and it'll come in. Finally, we have the library. So once you've defined everything, set it up and you've created it, you can save it. So you don't have to do it again and again every single time. So next time you have a project or a model, you want to bring in something that's similar to what you just created, just come into here, load up the previous structure, make a couple of changes to the settings, you have a new structure. And you can save them and load them just by selecting it and saying load. Or saving it by saying save. And you can see that structure comes in based on the settings that I had. And when I'm done here, you'll notice it's all taken care of. Everything's been changed back to my Can-Am steel deck for the cladding, or the posts are all Imperial AISC shapes now. It remembers all of that and keeps it. So it's only a one-time setup and then saved, and then you can bring it back in. So now if I decided I wanted a door on the other side instead of here, I could go and turn it off on this side, enable it on the other side, put it in a window somewhere, change the purlin spacing or girt spacing, use different types of beams and what have you. So that's the structures vault, which gives us our basic structure. Next thing I'm going to do here very quickly is I'm just going to put some grid lines in. I went ahead and just drew some regular lines. If you look at these lines here, they are just AutoCAD line, that's all. And I put them where I want the grid lines to go. So I put one and I just copied it over a few times, and I put one over there and I copied it to here. So what all I need to do here is come to my PowerPack, go say line to grid. Okay. So I'll select my lines, select similar. You can see the lines that are in there, line to grid. I'm going to start off by doing all groups, and then I'll do the extremities. I'll say all groups again, and this time I'll do WCS. And you can see what's happening here is it's taking all my lines and it's turning them into grid lines. It then asks me, do I want to get rid of the original lines? I'll say yes. Should I create the model views? So it will create model views for me. So if you're not familiar with model views, that's part of your Project Explorer here. You can create model views. I'll say yes. And then all grid lines or by grid line. So I'll just say all the grid lines. Do them all at the same time. Activate the camera model. Yes, I want to turn the cameras on. And you can see each of those lines now have the camera lines around it. And if I look in my Project Explorer, they've all been created. Okay, so direction 1, grid line 1 and 2. Direction 2, grid line, and there's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If I'm not sure which one's which, I can always come in and just hit the light bulb just beside it. It'll show me. Okay, so this gives me a very quick way to go in and not only create grid lines, but also create the model views. And if we look inside the properties of these model views, it also enables the camera. So I can go in and I can set that up if I wanted to. Right. So that is the line to grid tool. All right, so we're going to turn this model around now. And we're going to take a look at the threaded rod tool from the PowerPack connection vault. In here, if we go through this, you'll see they have plenty of connections that don't necessarily exist in Advanced Steel. So if you need to do anything along these lines, there's our threaded rod, you could come in and use these tools. Just kind of give you a quick overview of some of the things that are in here. Okay. Now the threaded rod, it's pretty simple to use. So all you have to do is select it. And then we're going to go in and we're going to select the first element, right click, and then select the second element we want to place it to connect to. Then it's where is that threaded rod located. So from the top element, I'm going to come in, let's say 6 inches. And then I'll come down to the bottom one. And I'll come in from there 6 inches as well. And you'll see it places between those two elements a threaded rod 6 inches in from the edge. Let me shade this so we can see it a little better. So there's our threaded rod. Now, to make things even easier, because we still have a lot of steel going on here, let's use the grid lines and the model views that we created here. And I'm just going to hide everything else except what's on grid line 1. Okay. And we can see there's that threaded rod. So very simple, very easy to put in. And if I want to do this whole area, I'll show you how we can do that. I'll place another one near the bottom and one near the middle. So let's come in. I'll pick the first element, right click. I'll pick the second element, right click. Same thing as before. We'll come in from the edge, 6 inches on each. It'll place the threaded rod there. And you'll notice here in the threaded rod, by the way, you have the option of going in and stating how many fasteners you want to have. If you were to try doing this with something like a straight anchor, the straight anchor would only give you a maximum of 6 fasteners, and then you can't go past that. It's a limitation. Here you can see, just based on the example, there's 8 nuts and 4 washers, so that's 12 fasteners in all that are attached to this. You can go beyond if you need to determine how many you need. Place them on each side, inside, outside, or both. You have control over that. The different size of rods, whether it's round, square, or you have other shapes as well. You can also come in, control the reduction length for the rod. So if you need to, where the threaded portion is, what is the length of that? First washer, you have the ability to use round, rectangular, or hexagonal shapes, or special parts. So you can create your own and place those in. So if you need something like a beveled washer in there, you can create your own. The nuts as well, same thing. You have round, rectangular, hexagonal nuts, or you can use special parts and call those in. And then you can save whatever you've created to the library so that you can use it again very quickly. Now I'm just going to place one final rod in here between the middle two. So select this one and the one below it. And this time I'm going to come in a little further so they don't overlap each other. I'll just come in 9 inches. I'll do the same down here. So I'll say from there I want to go this direction, 9 inches. And I've got another one. Okay. But that's good, but I need to have it all the way across. So if I were to come in and select these, I can now copy them. So I want that piece, and that piece up here. And I'm just picking the box, that's all. The space in between my columns is 16 feet, so each one of these is 16 feet. I've come in 6 inches on the top, so I want to go across, and I want to have 6 inches on the other side, so that leaves me 15 feet, which means I need 7.5 in the middle. So I'm just going to copy them. We have the advanced copy tool. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to say, see, 3 objects are selected. This is my measuring tool, and I'll say I want to go from here across, let's say 7.5 feet. And that should put it right in the middle. Now, how many do I want to have? In addition to this, I need to have another 2, so I'm going to make 2 copies. And if I'm not sure if I got that right, I can always come in and preview it. It'll go ahead and it'll build those. And you can see now I've got them all placed in here. So I can say OK. Otherwise, I can modify it and pick a different distance. At this point, I'm just going to come and select the boxes again that are there. So just these little gray boxes that go around my threaded rods. Like that. This way I don't grab anything else. I want to make sure I get these. And I'm just going to do a copy again. And I have 3 other bays that I need to do. So I know it's 16 feet apart, each one. So I'm going to come into here and I'll say I need to go in this direction, 16 feet. Places in here, you can see it's actually negative because the Y is pointed in the other direction. So from here to here, it's going to be negative 16 feet. And I have 3 other bays, so I'll put 3, and I'll preview that. Okay, so it's going to go through, it's going to make the copy, and now you can see I have those threaded rods in each of the other locations across the entire structure. So with that said, now I can say, okay, and I can go in, I can do the same for the other side, or I can copy all of these ones if I want to. For example, let's just grab that, do select similar. Okay, I want to make sure that I don't grab anything else. I'll grab that box there. It looks like I'm good. And then I can copy it over in the other direction. Okay. So that's basically what you would need to do is you can come in and grab these and then copy them over. The thing is I don't remember what the distance is. So let's bring it back. And we'll measure. Copy. And then we'll measure from, let's say, the center of that girt over to the center of that girt. You see, it tells me exactly what the distance is between those two. So now I can go in and I can say I need to have just 1 copy of all of those, and I can preview it. I'm just going to go through again. It's copying all of those rods to the other side. I'm trying to place them in. I may have some differences though, because for example, I have a doorway on that side. Okay. But now I can go over and I can take a look at this and I can say what's going on here. And for the most part, that works just fine. I may need to get rid of one and adjust another one. So let's just say okay. And we can go ahead and do that. So objects, I'm just going to go here and remove one. And this one here, I can get rid of it and place it back again. Okay. So what I would just do for that is I just mark where it is. Say in there, just so I know that's where it's located, and then get rid of it and place it back between the other elements. Or remove it entirely. I won't need it actually. So that gives me, there's my 2 sides done. Again, repeat the process for the back and for the front, and you have all your hangers in there. This also works if you want. You can line up your UCS with the purlins and do it that way. Now you'll see that I accidentally grabbed the rafters too when I copied those, so I want to get rid of those. That's it. It's done. I'll just come back again, and I'll fill in the rest so that we have it here in the front and the back. If you're doing the purlins, just set your UCS in line with them and do the exact same process. All right, so let's take a moment now to see what the results would be inside of a 2D drawing. I'm going to add in a camera here. We'll take a look at an isometric. So we have in the PowerPack also the camera creator. The camera creator allows us to come in and place cameras in different orientations, similar to the cameras that you'll find on your tool palette. In here, if I wanted to, we can put things in as a plan view, left view, right view, back view, all without having to turn the UCS. In this case, I'm going to put one in as a southeast isometric. We can also place a counter for our cameras so that it counts up the cameras automatically as we go. The camera type, I'm going to set this to overview. And we can put in here description. For example, I'll just put camera. And then we can add in things like counter, which will bring in a counter for us, grid line if we were to select grid lines, or grid line intersection, and camera level. Here I'm just going to place a counter. Just like a regular camera, we have all the settings that we would normally have, so you can set a box around the area that you want by setting your Z depths, your X and Y fixed depths. We can pick in here our drawing style, and if we want to use our user-defined drawing styles, we just need to check this button, and then we have our user-defined drawing styles. I'm just going to pick the 3D without labels. We can also select objects if we wanted to ahead of time, just like we could with the regular camera, and use our queries that we've created. I'm going to place that camera in, so come here. I'll select a point. I'll just put it down in a corner, and you can see it's placed in that camera for me. If I wanted to change anything about the camera afterwards, we also have the ability to use the camera browser. And the camera browser would come and list every camera that's in our model currently. So for example, all of these grid line cameras are not set up with any information. I could select those, come into here and change those to intersection. I could set descriptions for them from here. I could then go in and use tokens directly from here as well. The drawing styles could be set. So if I wanted to, for example, for each of these, I can change that to, well, I want to use user styles. I can check down here. There's a button for user styles. You can see these are the advanced ones. Okay. If I check the user ones, I have in here now my user styles. And I'll just pick the elevation view folk for those. And we have the ability to say, these are for the model view cameras. Do we want to create those cameras and make them active or not? And again, set all of our depths for Z and X and Y if we need to. With 2025, they're actually adding to this, so you'll have more options in here to control the cameras. I'm going to say apply and close the box. Now let's create our drawings just quickly. I'll come to the output tab, drawing process, and we'll do our cameras. We'll place them onto, let's say, all cameras, page fold D. It's going to go through and create all our camera drawings for us. And then we can go and check them out. So in here, if I select this camera, for example, I can right click, show the camera detail. There's that isometric. Okay. And you can see the rods are coming in, whether it's on the purlin or if it's in the different bays, they're showing up and being displayed. If I come into the elevation view, I'll just select one of those, show camera detail, and you can see they come in here as well. So here we have the rods through the purlins, we have the ones through the Girts Sag Rods, all in place, and our drawing created. To wrap things up, I just want to point out that with the sag rods or threaded rods, you have the ability to go and add in the parts that you want to use. And if you come to the PowerPack tab, just under the Special Parts Manager, when you left click on that, a dialog will appear. And this dialog will allow you to go in and add in, basically, you can create solids of just about any shape you want. So you have in different areas, depending on the tool you're using, you can add in things like key clamps. You can also add glass clamps, ball post balls, the caps, wall rail connectors, treads for your staircase, pipe-to-pipe connections, and they have the option in here for your threaded rods or your sag rods. So if you need to have a washer or if you need to have a nut, you'll see in here, you can go in and you can generate that using a 3D element and then save that to your catalog. This will then become available to you inside that dialog for the threaded rod. And how this works, if you look in here, take for example, there's a nut 10. This is actually what's going to show up in your drop-down list. And this is the name of the file. And if I open this up, you'll see in the folder where we've installed the program, the localization you're using, you have a folder shared support and symbols. In here, you're going to find the different elements. So that was being nut 10 here. So you can see that's the actual drawing. Okay. I can select it, it'll put it there. Now, this will, and you can specify what the thickness is afterwards that you've created. This will open up, and I'm just going to cheat. I'm just going to go through here. I'll go to symbols. I'll come there, and we'll take a look. There's that nut 10. All this is, if you look at it, is a 3D solid. And so you have the ability to generate your own 3D solids with the size that you want. Make sure that it's placed according to the origin point correctly, and then save it. Give it a name that you want to use, preferably one that you want to show up in bill of materials and lists. Save your changes. And when you're done, come back to your Special Part Manager. And in here, just simply say, I want to add to, make sure you have the right one, nut. And you can say add. It'll create a new line at the bottom, give it a name, pick your part, set your thickness, and you're done. Okay. And it's like that you can control the elements that get attached to the end of the threaded rod. Now, all of this touches on just a few of the tools out of the Advanced Steel PowerPack. And you can see just with the tools that we've mentioned, I've created a structure, I've reinforced it, gone in and generated drawings, we've created our own grid lines, we've added in cameras, we can manage cameras from in here, but there is so much more. So like we had the PowerPack connection vault, we have stairs and railings, we have other tools as well for checking the status of your drawings, the parts, whether they're in drawings, exporting parts to solids, which include step files and IGES files if you need them. You also have the ability to go in and create frames that you can place glass into and more. So if you're thinking about adding to the Advanced Steel software and you want a suite with new tools and for stairs and rails and structures and connections, consider the Advanced Steel PowerPack. It is a great suite of tools, and it will help to speed up and streamline your working process. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you all have a great day. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know.